Don't leave it.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare,
And hold it.
Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Just one of those sections, the bottom section, right? Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama.
Place it this way.
Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. See, it's way
I don't know why it's slanted. Yeah.
way off. And then we've got 5 minutes. So yeah, that thing's got to come up like that. This leg has to be adjusted. Hari Ram, Hari Ram, Ram Ram, Hari Hari. Again, now it's got to point at me. And come up. The camera's got to go up. Just the angle, just the angle, just the angle. Okay. Down slightly. Stop. Wait, no. Okay, that'll do. All right. We're in business. We're in business there. It's a bit of a thing, isn't it? But anyway, here we are. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. And let's just turn this off. Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Now, I tell you what, just take it down a bit so my head's just around, sort of the top of the head's around there. Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. No, you're going the wrong way. You can see it there. Down, down, down. Okay, that'll do. Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, the best. I don't know why. Strange. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Sri Krishna Chaitanya. Actually, my head should go down a bit further. Hare Krishna, Hare. My head's too high in there. Okay. No, down. No, down. Okay. Well, it's too far down. Okay. Yeah, it's all right. Like this. Yeah, that'll do. It's still, my head's still too high. Rama, Rama, Hari, Hari, Hari. Okay. Now it's going up. It's gone up even higher. That's all right if you can keep it there. Okay, I guess that'll do. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare. All right. So let us get ourselves together here. Okay. All right. I hope the level's okay for you. Is it all right for you there, Normalna? Hare Krishna. Okay. Okay. All right. Picture's not the best though. Anyway, we have another camera which we'll be able to use fairly soon. Now, what on earth is this doing? All right, devotees. So, devotees, welcome to the 14th class in our Nectar of Devotion seminar. Continuing the chapter, Devotional Service, Chapter 4, Devotional Service surpasses all liberation. So first of all, our dedication to the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. Nana Shastra Vicharanai Kanipano Saddharma Samstapako Lokanam Hitakarino Tribhuvane Manyo Sharanya Karo Radha Krishna Padaravinda Bhajana Nandena Mataliko Vande Rupa Sanatano Raghuyako Shri Jiva Gopalako Vande Rupa Sanatano Raghuyako Shri Jiva Gopalako. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the six Goswamis, namely Sri Sanatan Goswami, Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, and Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, who are very expert in scrutinizingly studying all the revealed scriptures with the aim of establishing eternal religious principles for the benefit of all human beings. Thus they're honored all over the three worlds, and they're worth taking shelter of because they're absorbed in the mood of the gopis and are engaged in the transcendental loving service of Radha and Krishna. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatyadeshatarane Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadha Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Paditanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Srila Prabhupada K. Shri Nectar of Devotion K. Yes, so devotees, we having a little computer problem here. Let's see if we can open this in some way or another. The file will not open. It opened in another program. All right, very good. Very good. Sure. Yes, so we are in the middle, basically, of this chapter, chapter 4, devotional service surpasses all liberation. And in general, the subject matter has been, well, different verses have been quoted. And, you know, of course, the chapter title, it obviously the subject matters to do with liberation and devotional service being better than liberation. But having said that, as you would have noticed if you were following the seminar yesterday, last night, that there's also quite a few of the verses which are saying that devotional service, through rendering devotional service, not only is liberation surpassed, their experience surpasses the experience of liberation, but there's also a number of verses in which it's stated that devotional service surpasses just ordinary material life. And the next chapter, which we quite possibly, quite likely may start this evening, or if not, of course, tomorrow, it's similar. The verses being quoted in this chapter and the next chapter, they're to do with both. I mean, in some cases, it varies, but it's quite common, not unusual in both chapters, that devotional service surpassing both liberation and material life, that this is emphasized, that both things are emphasized. So anyway, we were there last night, going through a number of the verses which have been quoted in the different paragraphs, and I was a little afraid that there may have been too many verses for all you nice devotees. So I checked with Swarup Damodar Prabhu, and he was enlivened about the verses. So I'm going to continue with verses, and we'll try to see how the particular personalities who are speaking the particular verses, what particular aspect of things they're appreciating about Krishna consciousness, which is showing that Krishna consciousness devotional service is better than liberation or material life, like that. Yeah. So let's see, where did we get up to here? Where did we get up to? I just got to find the spot. So, Krishna. Let's see. Well, we discussed the devotee saying, who was it? Was it Lord Indra? The Nagapatnis. I don't think we read about the Nagapatnis. Prahlad Maharaj, Ritrasura, of course, Lord Shiva. Okay, let's see, what now? So in the, let's see, the 15th paragraph, yes, okay. It is the paragraph, well, let's go up to the 13th paragraph, which is the personified Vedas. We're on page 32, and it's the paragraph which starts, oh no, actually, let's go up to page 31, the very last paragraph. There is a similar prayer by the Nagapatnis in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Yes, so they say, Dear Lord, the dust of your lotus feet is very wonderful. Any person who's fortunate enough to achieve this dust does not care for heavenly planets, lordship over all the planetary systems, the mystic perfections of yoga, or even liberation from material existence. In other words, anyone who adores the dust of your lotus feet does not care a fig for all other perfectional stages. Yes, the dust. This is just the dust. Of course, the lotus feet of the Lord, they're very special. But this is just the dust. What to speak of having a personal relationship with the Lord, loving relationship with all sorts of very personal and intimate exchanges. Just if you get the dust of the lotus feet of the Lord, then the Nagapatnis, the wives of Kaliya, say that if you just get the dust, then you just don't care. What to speak of having some luxury life in Durban, South Africa, or just some ordinary place on this planet. You just don't care even about the heavenly planets. It means nothing, no attraction. A lordship over all the planetary systems, all the mystic powers. We read about those, a couple of weeks ago, whereby you can do the most amazing things and acquire practically anything, and then even liberation from material existence. So anyone who gets the dust of your lotus feet and really appreciates it doesn't care a fig. It's, I guess, an old English saying, really. Don't care a fig. Figs, I guess, are pretty insignificant. I don't know if you would care for a mango, but in other words, they just have zero interest, even in the absolute best of what's available on the material level, including getting liberation. So let's just carry on here. That was paragraph 12. Let's go down to the next page, which looks like 33. And there on the next page, well, there is a similar statement wherein the personified Vedas pray to the Lord. Dear Lord, it is very difficult to understand spiritual knowledge. Your appearance here, just as you are, is to explain to us this most difficult subject of knowledge of the Spirit. As such, your devotees who have left their domestic comforts to associate with the liberated acharyas are now fully merged in the devotional service of your Lordship, and thus they do not care for any so-called liberation. So, to understand spiritual knowledge is, and in this context, this is the personified Vedas. The personified Vedas, they're kind of in between a bit. They're in the process of becoming devotees, but they come from impersonal backgrounds. So this spiritual knowledge that they're referring to is more like impersonal type of knowledge. So they're saying, thank you for appearing in order to help people understand this difficult spiritual knowledge, but the devotees who have abandoned all material comforts, The devotees are just absorbed in devotional service, and they don't care about this knowledge, which is more on the side of impersonal liberation. You follow the idea? Yeah. The knowledge they're referring to is kind of impersonal type knowledge. Yeah. So the devotees, they're just deeply absorbed in devotional service, and they don't care about that knowledge or the liberation which apparently can come from having that knowledge. So, okay. In the next paragraph, which is, what is it now, 14, in explaining this verse, see, this is important here. Prabhupada's going to devote the entire paragraph, and it is a fairly substantial paragraph, to just going more deeply into this point. So let's read a little bit at least of that paragraph. In explaining this verse, it should be noted that spiritual knowledge means understanding the self and the supersoul or super self. The individual soul and the supersoul are qualitatively one, and therefore both of them are known as Brahman or spirit. But knowledge of Brahman is very difficult to understand. This is the point that the personified Vedas were making. It's all very difficult to understand. And then Prabhupada refers to Bhagavad Gita chapter 7, verse 3. Out of many millions of people, some may try to approach that spiritual knowledge. And out of many of those who may have been successful in practicing or realizing that knowledge, hardly any of them can appreciate Krishna and really get the shelter of Krishna. And after getting the shelter of Krishna, or in the course of getting the shelter of Krishna, then they get absorbed in devotional service. Yes. So Prabhupada concludes at the end of that paragraph, those who are impersonalists, these same people we were mentioning who are interested in that knowledge, are satisfied by simply being liberated from the material circumstances. But those who are devotees can automatically give up material life and also enjoy the transcendental bliss of hearing and chanting the wonderful activities of Lord Krishna. This brings us to the next paragraph in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. This is actually paragraph number 15. And, oops, what have I done? And here, 3 verses are quoted, actually. In, what is it now? It's in 2 of them. Lord Krishna is addressing Uddhava. My dear Uddhava, the devotees have completely taken shelter of my service, are so steadfast in devotional service that they have no other desire. Even if they're offered the 4 kinds of spiritual opulences, they'll refuse to accept them. So what to speak of their desiring anything within the material world? Well, this is again, there was also, we read yesterday, I forget exactly who it was, but someone was saying, let's see, what is it now? Well, it's actually the Supreme, in the 9th canto, the Supreme Personality of Godhead was telling Devasa Muni that my devotees are not interested in those 4, what is sometimes called Vaishnav liberations. Of course, they're never interested in the liberation, the merging, Sayuja Mukti, but the devotees who are absorbed in devotional service, they're not even interested in the four liberations which are acceptable basically to devotees. And even sometimes for some reason, it depends. The Lord may have his reasons for different things. But there's a statement which we skipped over last night, in which it says that sometimes, for some reason, the Lord may ask a devotee, please accept one of those four Vaishnav liberations. And some devotees are just very into one or whatever of those liberations. Let me just tell you what they are again. Salokya, to live on the same planet as the Lord. Sarupya, to obtain the same bodily features as the Lord. Sarshti, to have the same opulences as the Lord. And Samipya, to have constant association with the Lord. An interesting little point, which I've mentioned before. It's found in the Sandarbhas, either Bhakti or probably Bhakti, but either Bhakti or Priti Sandarbha of Srila Jiva Goswami. It's in Priti Sandarbha. And there, Srila Jiva Goswami discusses Jai and Vijay and the whole incident actually, of their being cursed by the four Kumars. And at one point in this discussion, Srila Jiva Goswami makes the point that when Jai and Vijay were cursed, but then the Lord came and modified the curse, because if it had just been up to the four Kumars, they would still be with us. Jai and Vijay would still be with us here in the material world, because they were just cursed to just fall to the material world. Anyway, it's possible they might still be with us. But the Lord came and modified the curse, either 3 births as demons or 7 births as devotees. Their choice was 3 births as demons, because then they would get back sooner to the spiritual world. And Jiva Goswami makes the point, this indicates that they have either Salokya or Samipya Mukti. That they are very attached to being close to the Lord. That's very Krishna conscious. I'd like to become attached to being close to the Lord. But it shows a tendency of that sort, rather than they could have taken birth 7 times as devotees and just been blissful devotees, but it would have been for 7 lifetimes. Yeah, but they are feeling, we want to be with the Lord, we want to be with the Lord. But devotees who are more advanced, because Jai and Vijay, they're kind of unusual devotees. They're not completely in Vaikuntha. They're just it's a kind of marginal position, just outside the entrance. So, but some devotees, the Lord may instruct them, accept one of these liberations. And of course, what to speak of those who are already residents in Vaikuntha, they're quite happy being in their positions in terms of these liberations. All right, so, but when a devotee becomes more advanced and really deeply absorbed in devotional service, then they don't care even for these four, what are sometimes called Vaishnav liberations. Yeah. And of course, the point here is devotional service. Devotional service. This is the thing, one has to become absorbed in devotional service. So then the next verse in the same paragraph, it's also Lord Krishna addressing Uddhava. My dear Uddhava, a person whose consciousness is completely absorbed in my thought and activities does not aspire even to occupy the post of Brahma or the post of Indra or the post of lordship over the planets or the 8 kinds of mystic perfections or even liberation itself. Yes, well, these posts for people on the material platform, they're extremely attractive, very attractive. The mystical perfections are very attractive. But a devotee who's completely absorbed in Krishna consciousness doesn't have any desire for these things at all. And anyone want to become a GBC? We're taking applications. Sometimes people, devotees, some sort of misled devotees think like that, you climbed the ladder and you became a GBC. Wow, you got the high position. Ooh. Little do they know. And then there's the third verse quoted there. Lord Shiva speaking to Parvati, my dear Devi, this great Brahmin sage Markandeya has attained unflinching faith and devotion unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And as such, he doesn't aspire after any benedictions, including liberation from the material world. Yeah. So, no benedictions are of any interest. And it's a related point. It's interesting, actually. In the next paragraph, again, it's a fairly substantial paragraph. And the whole thing goes on, the subject matter goes on for 2 paragraphs. This is now talking about aspiring after any benedictions. You remember when it's Kartik. When it's Kartik, we sing the song every day, and usually we read the translation. And the speaker says, I don't want any type of benediction. I don't want any type of benediction. I just want to have the shelter of your lotus feet. So now, this whole Damodar pastime is analyzed in a fair amount of detail. Yeah. So, well, let's have a look at a bit of it. So anyway, Prabhupada says, yeah, Krishna was tied up. Dhamma means ropes. Udra means abdomen. Mother Yashoda was very disturbed by naughty Krishna, tied him up. So he's known as Damodar. And then there's the song during Kartik. You're the Lord of all, the giver of all benedictions. So Prabhupada then explains, there are many demigods like Brahma, Shiva, who give benedictions. Like Lord Shiva, one of his names is, Ashaisha. Yeah. the Lord of desires. The Lord of desires, meaning he can fulfill them. And ashutosh is the particular one. Tosh means to satisfy, the asha, the desires. So the description is, some Shivite approaches Lord Shiva with his shopping list. I would like, give me this, give me that, and give me so many things. And Lord Shiva just grabs it and says, let me look at that. And Shiva says, well, Shiva, up to that point in time, he was sitting there chanting on his mala. And now he's looking over this shopping list of desires. And he says, okay, you want a new house? You want a new house? Take 3. Take a palace. Take a palace. You want a car? You want a Mercedes Benz? Take 5 Rolls Royces. And like this sort of idea. Now you want a television. I don't know what's a big television these days. 50 inches. Take 10 84-inch televisions, one for every room. So just take all these things and go, so I can get back to my chanting, because that's where the nectar is for him. And that's just where the nectar is in devotional service, including chanting the holy names of the Lord. So that's why he's ashutosh. He quickly satisfies the desires of the worshippers, not because he thinks it's great. I'll give them more than what they want because I like giving them things. But basically just because he wants them to leave him alone so he can chant, engage in devotional service. So anyway, as we were sort of paraphrasing a bit, Brahma, Shiva, they give benedictions. Ravana, he got benedictions from Shiva. Hiranyakashipu from Brahma. But even Shiva and Brahma depend on the mercy of Krishna. There are stories, Brahma Vimohana Leela. Lord Brahma was so dependent on Krishna's mercy. The pastime with Vrikasura and Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva almost lost his life, but Krishna intervened. So, therefore, Krishna is known as the master of all benefactors. And therefore, he can offer his devotees anything they want. We're right in the middle of the paragraph, by the way. But Prabhupada says, but still the devotee's prayer continues. I do not ask you for liberation or any material facility up to the point of liberation. What I want as your favor is that I may always think of your form in which I see you now as Damodar. So like this, the Lord is very merciful, and the devotee prays that when you were tied up and you pulled the grinding mortar, you delivered the 2 sons of Kuvera, Nala Kuvera and Manigriva, who are staying there to Arjuna trees in the yard of Nanda Maharaj. My only request is that by your merciful pastimes, you may similarly deliver me. So, in other words, they're the demigods. Obviously in Hinduism, even now, so many people are just totally infatuated with the demigods and just addicted to demigod worship to get things. But as pointed out here, Krishna is the master of all benedictors, and the devotees have Krishna as their master. So they could just ask for anything, but they say, no, we don't want anything. Nothing. We just want your service, that's all. Just to be able to serve you, to get your mercy like that. So it shows the remarkable position of the devotees, that what to speak of not being attracted by the demigods and their abilities to give things, even though they know Krishna can give whatever, but they're not interested in getting that from him. And then Prabhupada, in the next paragraph, we won't really go through it. Prabhupada just tells the story. And you all know the story of Nalakuvra and Manigriva. So we go on. Where are we now? Let's just see. Oops. Yes, okay. Right at the bottom of that page, it's paragraph 18. It begins, there is a passage in the Hayashesha Pancharatra. Okay, let's just read that. My dear Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, I do not want any resultant benediction from my religious life. In other words, this person's done all sorts of good things, nor do I want any economic development, nor do I want to enjoy sense gratification nor liberation. I simply pray to be an eternal servant at your lotus feet. Kindly oblige me and give me this benediction. It's amazing, the consciousness. Then in the next paragraph, it's actually quoting from the same Hayashesha Pancharatna, and it's Prahlad. Nrsingadev wanted to give Prahlad benedictions, but Prahlad didn't want. And, well, I could just mention that. You know the story probably. That somehow or other, Lord Nrsingadev decided he wanted to give Prahlad something material. Anyway, he decided like that. But Prahlad just humbly said, no, my Lord, it's all right. I have you, I have your service. I don't need anything more. But Lord Nrsingadev said, no, that's all right, but I want to give you something. So you please ask for something. And again, Prahlad was just, no, really, I really don't need anything. Thank you. And then Nrsingadev asked again. And Prahlad, I mean, it's a little sort of facetious of me, but sometimes I say Prahlad preached to Lord Nrsingadev, because he sort of did something like that. He said that, I really don't need anything from you. If I did, if in order to get me to serve you, I had to be given something, otherwise I wouldn't serve you, then I'm not really a servant. And if you, in order to get me to serve you, you have to give me something, you're not really my master. We're just business people. We're just negotiating, making a deal. But I don't want our relationship to be like that. I want our relationship to be that you are my master and I am your servant. So therefore, please, I don't need anything from you. Just let me continue like that. And Lord Nrsingadev said, yes, very good. Thank you for your wise words. But I insist, I order you, you must ask for something. And so Prahlad thought, and he said that, all right, then please, my father, he was such a terrible person. Surely he's now on his way to hell. But my request from you is, please save my father from hell. And Nrsimhadev, of course, said, you don't need to worry, he's already liberated. And according at least to the Bhagavatam, Nrsimhadev says, 21 generations from the past in your family, they're liberated along with him. Doesn't actually mention the future. Maybe somewhere else, I don't know. So there's the example of Prahlad. What an amazing example. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is pressing him to accept something material, but he has less than no interest. The sweet taste of service, being in the mood of serving, is just quite enough for him. Then it's interesting, in the same paragraph at the bottom, it's like 5 lines from the bottom or so. Prahlad Maharaj also offered his respectful obeisances unto Hanuman. There is a well-known verse spoken by Hanuman in which he says, my dear Lord, if you like, you can give me salvation from this material existence or the privilege of merging into your existence, but I do not wish any of these things. I do not want anything which diminishes my relationship with you as servant to master, even after liberation. Yeah. So again, the nectar of service, the nectar of devotion. The nectar of devotion means the nectar of service, you could say. It's very nice. Then, next paragraph, Narada Pancharatra, there's some similar type of statement. It says, doesn't actually say who's speaking, but anyway, my dear Lord, I do not wish any perfectional stage by performing the ritualistic religious ceremonies, or by economic development, or by sense gratification or liberation. I simply pray that you grant me the favor of keeping me under your lotus feet. I do not wish any kind of liberation, such as Salokya or Sarupya. I simply pray for your favor that I may be always engaged in your loving service. Well, then there's another verse quoted, 6th canto, 14th chapter. Yeah, this is coming after the story of Vritrasura. So Maharaj Parikshit asks Shukadev, my dear Brahman, I understand that the demon Vritrasura was a greatly sinful person, and that his mentality was completely absorbed in the modes of passion and ignorance. How did he develop to such a perfectional stage of devotional service to Narayan? I've heard that even great persons who have undergone severe austerities and who are liberated with full knowledge must strive to become devotees of the Lord. It is understood that such persons are very rare and almost never to be seen. So I am astonished that Vritrasura became such a devotee. Well, the thing is, there's a couple of things really. That first thing is that Vritrasura somehow or other, at least because the story of Chitraketu has not been explained yet in the sixth canto at that point. It's just the story of Vritrasura's been there. And Vritrasura, he was on the level of Krishna Prema. He had amazing love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We mentioned that. We read a few sentences from Priti Sandarbha, Jiva Goswami, last night. So he had devotional service, and on a very high level, such qualities and such an elevated state of mind. And whereas impersonalists who may actually be liberated, they can't come to that level. How is it? How could it be? It's a good question. Well, of course, the question is answered by the telling of the story of Chitraketu and ultimately his being cursed. But in another sense, the point is that devotional service, here, of course, we're talking about the most elevated level, but just in general, a devotee from one lifetime to the next does not lose the level of advancement that he or she was on. Neha bikramanashosti pratyavayo navijite swalpamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bayat. Krishna explains to Arjuna that in this path there's no loss or diminution. And just a little advancement on this path can save one from the greatest type of fear of falling down into lower animal species. So this was the case with Vritrasura, of course in a special way, that he was on the level of prema. So even though he was cursed to become a demon or get the body of a demon, but his consciousness remained the same. There was no loss or diminution in his consciousness. You know, in many cases, when if a devotee somehow falls down, shall we say, there is a lapse in their consciousness for some time before it comes back up again and shows that it hasn't really been lost. It was just kind of covered over for a while. But in the case of Vritrasura, who was on the level of prema, despite this most remarkable situation of having to take the body of a demon, his consciousness was so amazing, so elevated that Shukadev Goswami, he just can't believe it. How is it possible? And this is another benefit, you could say, or sort of characteristic of pure devotional service, which shows how it's better than liberation. Because when people get liberation, eventually they fall down. First thing is, if they get liberation, they may not come up to the level of someone like Vritrasura in terms of the real consciousness. And the second point is that after some time, they fall down again without being cursed. Even Vritrasura was cursed, but he didn't fall down exactly in the sense that his Krishna consciousness remained. So just see again how amazing devotional service is. So, let's see. In the next paragraph, the next paragraph is 21, and it basically makes the point again of how rare is it just to become a devotee. out of millions of liberated persons, only one is fortunate enough to become a devotee. So here we are, here you are, you have all become devotees. Due to familiarity or due to whatever, we may not always be conscious of how extraordinary is the good fortune that we've received to become devotees. But it is extremely great good fortune, as pointed out here, out of millions. How many? Maybe one becomes a devotee. In Durban, however many people live, of course, I mean, we're not the only devotees in Durban, but the percentage-wise, the devotees are not a very substantial part of the number of people in Durban. So it's really wonderful that someone gets devotional service. And she, Prabhupada's quoting Queen Kunti that many great scholars and liberated persons don't know you, but we know you. I know you. I'm a woman. I know you. So how could it be? How could it be that me, who has like a lower birth, that I could know you? Prabhupada says at the end there, in this verse, the particular thing to be noted is that the personality of Godhead is not understood by great liberated persons, but only by devotees such as Queen Kunti in her humbleness. Although she was a woman and was considered less intelligent than a man, still she realized the glories of Krishna. That is the purport of this verse. And if any of you men sitting here, I don't really think you will be thinking like this, but if you are thinking that, yes, just see, I'm a man, and them, the ones on that side, they're women. So, I don't think we have much to be proud of in terms of our material backgrounds. Stri Sudra Dvija Bandhu Nam. I think we were generally born as less than Sudra. All right, then, I think the last thing we'll look at here is the next paragraph. Technically, what is it, paragraph 22. But this paragraph refers to the Atmarama verse. It's a very famous verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 7, verse 10. I'll just read the verse. Atmaramas chamunayo nirgranta apyarukrame kurvantjahaitu kim bhaktim itam bhutam guna hari. All different varieties of Atmaramas, those who take pleasure in Atma or spirit self, especially those established on the path of self-realization, though freed from all kinds of material bondage, desire to render unalloyed devotional service unto the personality of Godhead. This means that the Lord possesses transcendental qualities and therefore can attract everyone, including liberated persons. So, the whole idea, of course, is how devotional service surpasses liberation. And this verse here, this is a real classic, that even those people who are liberated and they're atmarama, they're enjoying some sort of spiritual pleasure in their transcendental position, impersonal transcendental position. But when they become exposed somehow to Krishna, they become attracted to him and then to serving him. And this shows kurvant yahaita kim bhaktim itam bhuta guna hare. That the Lord has qualities which are transcendental to liberation, or they're transcendental to material nature, and they're even transcendental to the transcendental position that the successful impersonalists achieve. So, devotional service, it really surpasses all liberation. So there you go, devotees. Hare Krishna. We will continue, of course, tomorrow evening, same place, same time. Please do remember, though, all of you sitting here in the temple, all of you out there in Facebook land, or no, Zoom land and Facebook land, all of you devotees, some hundreds, please remember that we've dedicated this program to His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj for his well-being. He's indisposed, he's ill in America, and so we all pray to Krishna and Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Prabhupada to bestow their mercy upon him and upon us, so that we can get his ongoing association for many more years. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki, Srila Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaja ki, Gaur Premanande. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.